Admiral Lix Tavorin stood at the crystalline viewport of the Stellar Congress's central chamber. Her four eyes narrowed at the holographic display showing another fallen world. The Proxima Centauri system, once home to 3 billion sentient beings, now pulsed an angry red on the galactic map. Gone in less than a day. That makes 17 systems this month alone, she said, her voice carrying to the gathered representatives. The void echoes are accelerating their advance. The chamber, normally filled with dignified debate and careful diplomacy, had become a place of fear. The representatives of over 2,000 worlds sat in tense silence. Many seats remained empty, their worlds already lost. High Chancellor Zoll, the eldest member of the Congress and representative of the ancient Mavorian civilization, raised a withered hand. We've exhausted conventional options. Our fleets are scattered or destroyed. Our defense networks breach readily. Our most advanced weapons barely slow them. His voice trembled. The void echoes adapt to everything. Admiral Tavorin turned from the viewport. There is one option we haven't considered. She paused, knowing her next words would cause an uproar. Earth. The chamber erupted exactly as she'd predicted. Voices shouted over one another, some in outrage, others in disbelief. The humans, Chancellor Zoll's voice cut through the chaos. You would have us turn to the very species we quarantined 5 centuries ago? They were savages, uncontrollable, too dangerous to allow among civilized species. Admiral Tavorin let them vent their fear and prejudice. When the noise subsided, she spoke clearly and deliberately. I've studied the human quarantine extensively. What you call savagery, I call potential. What you fear as violence, I see as tenacity. The humans weren't quarantined because they were weak. They were isolated because the Congress feared what they might become. The Talaxian representative, his bioluminescent skin flashing with agitation, stood. Even if we wanted to request their help, how could we? The quarantine was absolute. No communication, no technology sharing, nothing that would allow them to leave their solar system. Tavorin's upper lip curled in what her species considered a smile. That was the official policy. But certain contingencies were maintained. There has always been a way to contact Earth, should existential crisis demand it. Chancellor Zoll stared at her. You've been monitoring them. Not just monitoring, Tavorin admitted. Observing. Learning. And I believe they may be our only hope against the void echoes. What makes you think they would even help us? Asked the Rigelian ambassador. We imprisoned them in their own solar system. Tavorin activated a new hologram showing a small blue-green planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Because despite everything, humans possess something rare in the galaxy: unpredictability. The very quality that made them dangerous makes them valuable now. And because they have something to prove. Chancellor Zoll studied the hologram of Earth for a long moment. The old Mavorian had seen many civilizations rise and fall in his 300-year lifespan. Finally, he spoke. When the drowning refuse rescue from a predator, they have already chosen their death. Contact the humans. General Helena Reyes stood in the secure bunker beneath the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, staring at the alien transmission playing for the 5th time. 500 years of isolation, and now this, a desperate plea from the very aliens who had locked humanity away. Play it again, she ordered, her dark eyes never leaving the holographic display. The alien Admiral Tavorin, according to the translation, appeared once more. 4 eyes, scaled blue-violet skin, speaking in a language that the linguists had worked frantically to decode. People of Earth, I am Admiral Lix Tavorin of the Stellar Congress. 5 centuries ago, our predecessors made the decision to quarantine your world and species from interstellar civilization. Today, circumstances compel us to break that quarantine. An enemy unlike any the galaxy has faced threatens all sentient life. We call them the Void Echoes. They have destroyed thousands of worlds, and our forces cannot stop them. We believe humanity possesses unique qualities that may help us survive this threat. We request your aid and offer an end to your isolation in return. Coordinates for a diplomatic meeting are attached. We await your response. Reyes turned to the room's other occupants, the 7 members of Earth's Security Council. Thoughts, Honhonoshast? President Wei, the elected leader of the United Earth government, leaned forward. Could it be a trick? A test to see if we violated the quarantine restrictions? Professor Kagawa, head of xenosociology, shook her head. The desperation seems genuine. And our deep space monitoring has detected unusual activity at the edge of our solar system over the past several years. Something is happening out there. Whatever's happening, this is the opportunity we've been waiting for, said Director Okafor of Military Intelligence. 500 years building our strength in secret, and now they're inviting us out. Reyes nodded. Humanity had never truly accepted its imprisonment. The quarantine had initially devastated Earth, their first contact with alien life resulting in technological restrictions and confinement to their home system. But humans had always excelled at turning adversity into advantage. "What do we know about these void echoes?" she asked. "Very little from the transmission," answered Kagawa. "But the term itself is interesting. Echoes imply repetition, reflection, perhaps some kind of mimicry. They wouldn't be contacting us if conventional methods were working," Reyes mused, "which means they need what makes us different. Our capacity for violence," Okafor said bluntly. "Our adaptability," Kagawa countered. "Our unpredictability." President Wei stood, his decision made. "General Reyes, prepare a response. Tell them we'll attend their meeting, but not as supplicants, as equals." He looked around the room. "And begin mobilizing the Ghost Fleet. If we're going to war, we'll do it our way." Reyes nodded. The Ghost Fleet, Earth's secret armada, built over centuries using reverse-engineered alien technology, gleaned from observation and creative workarounds to the quarantine restrictions. Ships that no alien had ever seen, weapons that no database contained. "Time to show the galaxy what humanity has become," she said. The diplomatic vessel Harbinger materialized at the coordinates provided by the Stellar Congress, humanity's first official venture beyond the Sol system in 5 centuries. General Reyes stood on the bridge, flanked by her senior officers and diplomatic team. "Scanning complete," reported Commander Chen from the sensor station. "Detecting one vessel. Configuration matches the Stellar Congress diplomatic cruiser class from our observational database." "They came alone?" Reyes raised an eyebrow. Either this was a tremendous show of trust, or the situation was even more desperate than they'd imagined. "Open a channel," she ordered. The viewscreen activated, revealing Admiral Tavorin. The alien's 4 eyes widened slightly at the sight of the humans. "General Reyes of Earth," Tavorin greeted. "Thank you for coming." "Admiral," Reyes acknowledged. "I understand you're in need of assistance." Tavorin's secondary eyes blinked a sign of surprise, Reyes guessed. "You speak our language." Reyes allowed herself a small smile. "We've had 500 years to study the galaxy from afar, Admiral. We've learned much about those who imprisoned us." The alien had the decency to look uncomfortable. The quarantine was a complicated decision made by a different generation, and yet maintained by yours, Reyes noted. "But we didn't come to debate history. Tell me about these void echoes." Tavorin gestured, and a holographic display appeared between them. "They appeared 3 years ago from beyond the galactic rim. At first we thought they were simply another spacefaring species, albeit with unusual technology. We attempted communication." The alien's voice grew heavy. "Every attempt at contact resulted in the complete destruction of the contacting vessel or colony. The hologram showed shadowy, shifting forms that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They have no consistent physical form that we can determine. They adapt to any environment, replicate any technology they encounter, and seem to feed on energy itself, including the neural energy of sentient beings." "Feeding implies sustenance," Reyes observed. "Have you tried starvation strategies?" "We've tried everything," Tavorin replied, frustration evident. "Conventional weapons, antimatter bombardment, dimensional phase shifting, even engineered pathogens. Nothing works for long. They adapt, they evolve, they consume." Reyes studied the holographic data. "How many worlds have you lost?" "Over 3,000 systems," Tavorin answered quietly. 47 species extinct. More than 1 trillion lives." Reyes felt her officers stiffen behind her. The scale of destruction was difficult to comprehend. "And why come to us?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Because you're different," Tavorin said simply. "Humanity was quarantined because your species possesses qualities the Congress found disturbing. Your adaptability, your aggression, your willingness to take risks that other species consider unthinkable. The very reasons you were isolated may be why you can help us now." "I'll need to see everything you have on these void echoes," Reyes said. "Complete access to your data, your battle reports, your research." "Of course," Tavorin agreed readily. "And I want something else," Reyes added. "Full recognition of Earth's sovereignty and the immediate and permanent lifting of all quarantine restrictions." Tavorin's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "That would require a formal vote of the full Stellar Congress. But given the circumstances, I believe they will agree to your terms." "Good," Reyes nodded. "Because we're not just bringing ourselves to this fight, Admiral. We're bringing solutions you haven't even imagined." The arrival of the human fleet at the Stellar Congress headquarters caused more than a diplomatic stir. It was an existential shock. Not just because humanity had been isolated for 5 centuries, but because of what they brought with them. Chancellor Zoll stared through the observatory dome at the ships appearing in formation. Great ancestors, he whispered. How many are there? 300 vessels in this battle group alone, Admiral Tavorin answered, her voice tight with controlled emotion. And according to General Reyes, this represents less than 10% of their total fleet capacity. The human ships defied conventional design philosophy. Where Congress vessels were elegant and streamlined, human ships were angular, asymmetrical, and bristling with weapon systems that the Congress's sensors couldn't even categorize. How? Demanded the Rigelian ambassador. How did they build all this while under quarantine? They didn't just survive isolation, Tavorin replied. They thrived on it. They took the few scraps of advanced technology they gleaned before the quarantine and developed them along paths we never considered. And they did it all in secret, hidden within their solar system. The central ship of the human fleet, a massive dagger-shaped vessel named Vindication, dwarfed even the Congress's largest dreadnoughts. It moved into a high orbit above the Congress station, a silent statement of power. Inside the emergency session of the Stellar Congress, General Reyes stood before the gathered representatives of what remained of galactic civilization. The anger in the room was palpable, not directed at her, but at the circumstances that had forced them to this point. You hid this from us, accused a representative from the Kalian Federation, glaring at the Congress leadership. You told us the humans were primitive, that the quarantine was necessary to protect them as much as to protect us. Chancellor Zoll raised his hands for calm. What's done is done. We face extinction. Recriminations can wait. Reyes stepped forward. The Void Echoes have adapted to every weapon, every strategy you've employed, she said. But you've been fighting them according to established military doctrine they've now absorbed and countered. She activated a holographic display showing human combat simulations against the Void Echo tactics. We fight differently. We've developed technologies specifically designed to be unpredictable, to evolve faster than an enemy can adapt. The display showed human ships deploying weapons that seemed to phase in and out of reality, energy signatures that shifted constantly, and defense systems that reconfigured themselves mid-battle. Quantum uncertain weaponry, she explained. Probability drives, consciousness disruption fields, technologies your scientists dismissed as too unstable or unpredictable to be practical. Those are theoretical concepts, objected a scientific advisor. Too dangerous to implement. For you, perhaps, Reyes agreed. But necessity drove humanity to embrace risk. When you have no safety net, you either innovate or die. She gestured and the hologram shifted to show battle plans. We've analyzed your data on the Void Echoes. We believe they function as a collective consciousness with distributed processing similar to certain Earth-based neural networks, but vastly more complex. We suspected as much, Tavorin said, but we found no way to disrupt that connection. Because you're thinking like individuals who value their autonomy, Reyes explained. We've spent centuries thinking about hive minds, collective consciousness, and how to disrupt them. It's a common theme in our fiction and our military planning. The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. The very qualities that had led to humanity's quarantine, their warlike nature, their obsession with conflict now made them uniquely qualified to fight this enemy. We have a plan, Reyes continued, but we'll need your cooperation. Full access to your remaining fleets, your manufacturing facilities, and your star maps. Chancellor Zoll looked around the chamber, seeing the mixture of hope and fear on every face. You have it, he said simply. Whatever you need. As the session ended, Admiral Tavorin approached Reyes privately. There's something you should know, the alien said quietly. Some among the Congress believe this enemy was drawn to our galaxy because of humanity. Reyes raised an eyebrow. Explain. There are theories that the Void Echoes are attracted to developing civilizations with certain aggressive tendencies, that they act as a kind of immune response to species that might one day threaten the wider universe. So we're the infection and they're the antibodies? Reyes asked, her voice cool. It's just a theory, Tavorin assured her. But if there's any truth to it, then humanity is still your best hope, Reyes finished. Because we've spent our entire history fighting against forces trying to eliminate us. She smiled thinly. And we're still here. The war room aboard the Vindication hummed with activity as human officers worked alongside alien counterparts. 6 months had passed since the first diplomatic meeting. 6 months of careful planning and preparation, while the Void Echoes continued their relentless advance. Colonel Maya Santos, head of tactical operations, highlighted a sector on the galactic map. The Helios cluster, she announced. That's where we make our stand. Admiral Tavorin studied the location. Why there? It's of minimal strategic value. Exactly, Santos replied. It's where they won't expect us to commit our forces, and it has the precise stellar configuration we need for Operation Lighthouse. General Reyes entered the war room, followed by Chancellor Zoll. The elderly Mavorian had insisted on being present for this critical phase, despite the risks. The combined fleet is in position, Reyes reported. All ships are equipped with the new quantum disruptors. Congress Engineering Corps have performed admirably in adapting our technology. Tavorin nodded in acknowledgement of the compliment. The past months had seen an unprecedented exchange of knowledge and resources. Human scientific innovations developed in isolation and along unconventional paths had been integrated with the refined techniques of Congress engineering. Will it be enough? Chancellor Zoll asked, his ancient eyes fixed on the battle projections. In conventional warfare, no, Reyes answered honestly. Even with our combined forces, we're outnumbered. But this isn't conventional warfare. She activated the central hologram, showing a complex energy pattern. This is our analysis of the Void Echo's communication network, the quantum entanglement field that allows them to coordinate and adapt so quickly. Our plan isn't to destroy their forces through direct confrontation. We're going to disrupt their ability to function as a collective, Santos continued. The quantum disruptors will create localized reality fluctuations that should temporarily sever their connections to each other. And while they're disoriented, Reyes added, we initiate Phase 2. The hologram shifted to show the Helios cluster's unique stellar arrangement, 7 stars in close proximity, each one now surrounded by massive human-designed constructs. Synchronized nova induction, Tavorin breathed. You're going to trigger simultaneous supernovas. Controlled novas, Santos corrected. The stellar accelerators will cause precisely calculated stellar flares that, when combined with our quantum disruptors, will create a cascading effect across the Void Echo's neural network. Chancellor Zoll looked alarmed. The energy release could affect civilian systems light years away. We've accounted for that, Reyes assured him. Congress worlds have been equipped with shielding specifically designed to protect against the radiation pulse. The Void Echoes won't have time to adapt. And if this fails, Tavorin asked quietly. Reyes met her gaze. Then we move to contingency plans. Humanity has always prepared for worst-case scenarios. The alien admiral nodded slowly. Your species thinks differently than ours, General. You plan for failure even while expecting success. We hope for the best but prepare for the worst, Reyes agreed. It's kept us alive through our entire history. The command came 3 hours later. Across the Helios cluster, the combined human Congress fleet engaged the advancing Void Echo forces. The battle began conventionally a feint designed to draw in as many of the enemy as possible. Aboard the Vindication, Reyes watched the tactical display as the plan unfolded. The Void Echoes responded predictably at first, countering the fleet's maneuvers with their usual adaptive efficiency. They're fully committed, Santos reported. Quantum Disruption Network is ready. Execute Phase 1, Reyes ordered. Throughout the battlefield, specialized vessels activated their disruptors simultaneously. There was no visible effect at first. The disruption happened at a quantum level, but the effect on the Void Echoes was immediate and dramatic. Their perfectly coordinated movements faltered. Ships collided. Attack patterns became erratic. It's working, Tavorin said, her voice tight with controlled excitement. Their neural network is destabilizing. Phase 2, Reyes commanded. Initiate stellar accelerators. Across the Helios cluster, the massive constructs surrounding each star activated. The stars seemed to pulse, their coronas expanding in perfect synchronization. The energy release was precisely calculated, not enough to destroy the stars, but enough to create a massive, coordinated energy wave that propagated through the quantum disruption field. The effect on the Void Echoes was catastrophic. Their ships, caught in the energy wave while their neural network was compromised, couldn't adapt quickly enough. Some simply dissolved into formless matter. Others turned on each other, firing wildly. Phase 3, Reyes ordered. All fleet elements engage with variable frequency weapons. The combined fleet surged forward, attacking with weapons specifically designed to change their energy signatures continuously. Without their collective intelligence to develop countermeasures, the Void Echoes could not adapt. The battle turned into a rout, then a slaughter. When it was over, the Helios cluster was secured the first significant victory against the Void Echoes since their invasion began. In the war room, Chancellor Zoll stared at the battle reports in disbelief. You did it, he said simply. We did it, Reyes corrected. This was just the beginning. Now we take the fight to them. 1 year later, Admiral Tavorin stood in the rebuilt central chamber of the Stellar Congress. The massive room, once filled with fear and desperation, now buzzed with a different energy, the focused determination of species united by survival. The last of the Void Echoes had been driven from the galaxy 3 months ago, pushed back beyond the rim by relentless human-led offensives. The cost had been high, hundreds of ships lost, dozens of worlds damaged, but compared to the alternative, it was a price willingly paid. Chancellor Zoll, looking even more ancient after the strains of war, called the session to order. Today, we formalize what reality has already established, he announced. A new compact for a new age. General Reyes, now Supreme Commander Reyes of the Combined Defense Force, stepped forward. The human woman had become a legendary figure across the galaxy, her tactical brilliance credited with saving civilization itself. The Void Echoes were defeated because we learned to combine our strengths, she said, her voice carrying throughout the chamber. Humanity's unconventional thinking and willingness to take risks, coupled with the Congress's technical refinement and coordination. Neither could have succeeded alone. The treaty displayed before the assembled representatives was straightforward. Earth would become not just a member of the Stellar Congress, but a founding member of the new Galactic Alliance. Humanity would lead the unified defense forces, while the Congress would maintain primary authority over diplomatic and cultural affairs. Some have expressed concern about giving humans such military authority, Reyes acknowledged. I understand those concerns. 500 years ago, humanity was quarantined because the Congress feared our potential for violence. She paused, looking around the chamber. That potential saved you. But potential is neutral. It can create as well as destroy. The question isn't whether humanity is dangerous. All species with the power to reach the stars are dangerous. The question is whether we can direct that danger outward against common threats rather than against each other. Tavorin stepped forward to stand beside Reyes. The human and alien leaders, once adversaries by circumstance, now allies by choice, presented a powerful symbol of the new order. I have seen humanity at war, the Admiral said. I have witnessed their ferocity, their determination, their refusal to accept defeat. But I have also seen their compassion, their willingness to sacrifice for species they had every reason to hate. She gestured to the treaty. This is not submission or domination. It is partnership. The quarantine was a mistake born of fear. Today we correct that mistake not out of necessity, but out of wisdom. The vote was unanimous. Later, as the formal ceremonies concluded, Reyes found Chancellor Zoll alone in an observation bay, staring out at the combined fleet orbiting the Congress station. Having second thoughts, Chancellor? She asked. The ancient Mavorian turned to her, his wrinkled face impossible for a human to read. Not about the treaty, he said. About the past. I wonder what might have been if we had welcomed humanity from the beginning. Reyes joined him at the viewport. History is full of such questions. What matters is what we do now. You know, Zoll said quietly. There is an old Mavorian proverb. The most dangerous predator may become the most vigilant guardian. Reyes smiled slightly. On Earth, we have a similar saying. The devil you know is better than the one you don't. The old alien made a sound that might have been laughter. Perhaps our species are not so different after all. Different enough to complement each other, Reyes replied. Similar enough to understand one another. That's the foundation of any lasting alliance. Beyond the viewport, a new class of ship moved into formation, sleek vessels, combining human and Congress design principles, crewed by mixed species teams. The first products of genuine cooperation. They're calling it the Phoenix Fleet, Zoll noted, after a creature from human mythology. A bird that rises from its own ashes, Reyes explained. Reborn stronger than before? Apt, the Chancellor agreed. For all of us. As they watched, the ships activated their drives and disappeared into the darkness of space, not in retreat or isolation, but as guardians of the galaxy finally united. In humanity's darkest hour, they had roared defiance at extinction itself. And in that roar, they had found not just their own salvation, but their place among the stars. The observatory platform at the edge of the Orion Arm offered perhaps the most spectacular view in the known galaxy. Supreme Commander Helena Reyes stood alone at the railing, watching distant stars through the transparent dome. 5 years had passed since the defeat of the Void Echoes. 5 years of rebuilding, of healing, of forging a new interstellar community. The sound of footsteps interrupted her solitude. Admiral Tavorin approached, her uniform bearing the new insignia of the combined fleet. I thought I might find you here, Dusha, the alien said. The council session ended 2 hours ago. Reyes nodded. I needed some perspective. They stood in companionable silence, two leaders who had moved from reluctant allies to genuine friends. The galaxy spread before them thousands of worlds, hundreds of species, all connected in ways that would have been unimaginable a decade ago. The Andrasi delegation was quite vocal today, Tavorin observed. They still fear human influence. With good reason, Reyes acknowledged. We're an ambitious species. But we've learned something too: isolation breeds stagnation. Cooperation leads to growth. She gestured toward a specific section of stars. The new colonies in the Perseus sector are thriving. Mixed settlements, shared technology, combined defense systems. The model works. Tavorin's four eyes blinked in sequence, what Reyes had come to recognize as thoughtful consideration. There are rumors, the Admiral said carefully, about what happened to the Void Echoes. There are always rumors, Reyes replied evenly. Some say they weren't driven away. Some say they were absorbed, integrated into human technology. Reyes turned to face her friend directly. Do you believe that? The alien was silent for a moment. I believe that humanity has always walked a different path than the rest of us. You embrace what others fear. You experiment where others exercise caution. It's your strength and potentially your greatest danger. We learned from the Void Echoes, Reyes admitted. Studied them, understood them. But destroy them, absorb them? No. Some boundaries shouldn't be crossed. She turned back to the view. The ancient Greeks had a concept called hubris, the dangerous overconfidence that leads to downfall. 500 years of isolation taught humanity many things, but perhaps the most important lesson was patience. We don't need to rush toward godhood. There's value in the journey. Tavorin seemed satisfied with this answer. Your species continues to surprise me, Helena. Good, Reyes smiled. The universe needs surprise, unpredictability. It's how we evolve. A communication chime interrupted them. Tavorin answered, listened briefly, then turned to Reyes with all four eyes wide. The Deep Space Array has detected something, she said urgently. Beyond the galactic rim. Similar energy signatures to the Void Echoes, but different, larger. Reyes felt a familiar tension return to her shoulders, the weight of command, of responsibility. The Void Echoes were never the end, she said quietly. Just the beginning. A test, Tavorin suggested, or a warning. Reyes straightened her uniform. Either way, we face it together this time. Not as desperate allies, but as a unified force. As they left the observatory, Reyes paused for one last look at the galaxy. Their galaxy now, protected by an alliance forged in desperation, but maintained by choice. In our darkest hour, we learned who we truly are, she said. All of us. Tavorin nodded in understanding. And if darkness comes again? Reyes smiled not with joy, but with determination. Then we'll meet it with the light we've built together. Behind them, the stars seemed to pulse with possibility and with promise.